It's about time we finally found the movie of the summer. Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Twisters. I just want to say how it was kind of funny that there was a pretty big storm coming my way as soon as I started heading out for my screening for this. But anyways, Twisters is the rebootquel question mark from the movie Twister from the 90s. Even after watching the film, it's still a little bit unclear, but in my head canon, it is a sequel that takes place in the same universe. And there's one hint alluding to that too, but who knows. Anyways, this follows a new group of people starring Daisy Edgar Jones, Anthony Ramos, and Glenn Powell. And of course, it's directed by the director of Minari, Lee Isaac Chung. And as soon as he was attached to the project, I knew this was going to have hands because my goodness does this movie slap. This is exactly the type of crowd-pleasing blockbuster that many people crave. And this is the caliber of blockbuster that we should be consistently getting in the summer, and yet we aren't. This has everything you want in a big, great summer blockbuster. From great effects to an intriguing story to wonderful character work. There's so much about this film that just works on so many levels. There's so much about this film that works. I genuinely only have like 2 complaints. Just to get into them quickly, it's the overall soundtrack and the fact that many of these scenes actually feel shorter than they should be. / we jump from point A to point B sometimes and it feels like we're jumping from point A to point D. But besides those 2 flaws, this is easily one of my favorite films of the year. Getting into the cast, Daisy Edgar Jones leads the ship and leads it well. There's a couple of moments where her Irish accent comes through, which is pretty funny, but besides that, she did pretty well with an American accent. And for her to be the lead in what is hopefully a major blockbuster this summer, she does carry her screen time very, very well. And I'm so excited to see her in more films. I've just always been a fan of hers ever since Normal People, and I'm glad she's getting this time to shine, especially in a blockbuster like this where there's actual depth to it. Moving on to Glenn Powell, he's great as always. It's not my favorite Glenn Powell performance because he's just been amazing in everything else he's in. So, I mean, you know, when you have this high bar for yourself, it's hard to always live up to that. But even then, he still has a great time in this film, and you can feel that through the screen. Anthony Ramos is another actor that I'm always rooting for, and he's in this movie, and he also does very, very well. There's some complexity with his character, and I truly appreciate what's done with his arc, but also the themes that are interwoven with him too. It's with him and Glenn Powell's character that you actually get these themes that are very, very interesting, especially in a film like this. And final shout out to one of the actors. Brendan Perea actually steals the show for some of the scenes he's in. It may seem like he's a bit one-noted at first, but he actually does have some more going on for him. Not that it's as deep as anything with Anthony Ramos or Glenn Powell and especially Daisy Edgar Jones, but as a side character, he was definitely my favorite. Also funny how the new Superman guy is in this too. But overall, as an ensemble, I found everyone very charming, and that's especially needed in a film like this. And I'm so glad that Lee Isaac Chung is able to direct this ensemble overall to just have such a great energy pouring through the screen for it, and to actually get you to care for all of these characters, because that's one thing that this movie does, and it doesn't hold back its punches. You feel the intensity throughout the entire film, especially the Twister scenes. You don't know who's going to die, who's going to get hurt, or just anything can happen to anyone at any time, and genuinely, that's amazing. You feel that tension, and you feel like it's kind of a horror film at times when those Twisters are forming and these characters are in peril. Sometimes you're scared with them, and sometimes you're scared for them, and the balance in between those two, especially for each singular character, and all of it just ringing true for how that character would feel in that moment. This movie does so much so well, especially on the character front. It ties a lot of these character arcs into very interesting themes of corporate America, fanaticism, and so much more. But also the film is just so engaging and entertaining that you're able to take these themes as broad as they can be, and you're able to digest them in such a great way. This movie is just so heartfelt, it's so thrilling, it's so funny, it does everything you need in a major summer blockbuster. And by God, it does it so well. This was a movie I have been rooting for ever since the director and cast had been announced, and I am so glad to say that it delivers on so many fronts. And I do want to say I am so sorry to my friends who I've been annoying every single time we saw the Toasters trailer in theaters. I just knew it was going to be good, you know? And I'm so glad that it is. I had such a blast in the theater. I was on the edge of my seat. I was caring for these characters that are way deeper deeper than they have any right to be. But this to me is exactly what a prototypical major summer blockbuster, especially a Hollywood one, should be like. Is it perfect? No, it has so many flaws, but so much of it is forgiven through the character work, through the themes that it's able to deliver on, through the craft of the film. The visual effects are great in this. To the memorability of some scenes, like that rodeo scene is by far my favorite scene in the film, because it's so scary and it had me on the edge. And at that point when it happens, you're attached to these characters and you're rooting for these characters, and even it includes people you don't even know the names of, and yet you still care for them. And that just comes down to the directing and writing and the performances. Everything about this just blends together so perfectly. And for this to be a potential reboot of the original Twister film from the 1990s, it takes a lot of the ideas and tropes and arcs of that first film and it kind of just rearranges it and adds certain things, and it really is an improvement over it. As much as I love that first film, it's so charming and cheesy, but this just, it feels elevated in almost every single way. And again, even though I'm gushing over this film, it is not perfect. There are some flaws. It does feel a bit awkward at times due to certain scenes not fully feeling its length. And honestly, I could have gone for another 15 minutes of this film because I just enjoyed it that much. But overall, as a movie, I think this is going to be beloved by the many. At least I'm hoping for that. I really need this to do very well box office wise because I want to see this do well. It's rare for a legacy sequel, quote unquote, for it to be actually amazing. And honestly, this is a movie that I want to go and watch opening weekend. I already want to rewatch it and I need to see it with a big crowd because I'm sure it's just going to be such a great energy in there. And also, most importantly, I need to experience this in 4DX. I give Twisters a 4 out of 5 stars. I also want to say too, the cinematography of this film was really great. It was shot on film and there were just so many like swooping shots. It kind of made you feel like you were in the wind about to become a twister. I don't know if that was intentional. I'm sure it was, but the camera just constantly kind of going like that for big character moments. That was just really, really cool. And also shout out to all of the details in this film. If you love the first movie, you're going to love what happens in this one with all the small details and references to the original. But even if you haven't seen the original film, I still think that this is self-contained enough that you're okay just going in blind. But alright, those are my thoughts on Twisters. Be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think of the original film. I think it's actually amazing and it's kind of slept on now, but let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll catch you later.